delighted to be here and to speak about our Kedge Wine School Masters, and delighted to be with Juliette Bérat, one of our alumni, graduated of our Master of Science Wine and Spirits in 2018. And thanks for inviting us today. So obviously we're going to do a focus pretty quickly on the Kedge Wine School, but I'm going to say a few words about Kedge Business School, because the Kedge Wine School is an integrated school in a very prestigious French business school. So very quickly, a few words about the history of Kedge Business School. Kedge Business School was created in 2013, was a merger of two business schools in France, Euromed Management, which was the business school of Marseille, and Bordeaux École de Management, which, as you can imagine, was a Bordeaux management school at that time. A few important dates. We became AACSB accredited for 5 years in 2016, and in 2017 we became one of the very first triple accredited school in France. More recently, opening of a new campus in Toulon, and then most important for us and for our masters, especially the Wine and Hospitality Master, we opened a lovely campus in Paris in the building called the Building des Lumières in Cours Saint-Émilion, so a pretty nice name to have a wine master, obviously. So just a few figures: 36 management programs in Kedge Business School, and 2 integrated schools, including a design school and the Kedge Wine School, which we will talk about today. Almost 15,000 students each year at Kedge, including 23% of international students. But on the 2 masters we will focus on today, obviously this figure is much higher, as we have more than 60% international students, as these are 2 international programs. Almost 200 permanent teachers, plus even more in our wine programs, lots of professionals. 45% of our permanent teachers are international, and we partner with almost 300 universities, including EHL for one of our programs, which we'll talk about today. I let you discover the other figures, but I think these are the most important ones. We rely also on our centers of excellence and expertise, and for the Wine and Hospitality program, especially on the Kedge Food, Wine and Hospitality Center of Excellence, which is also part of the research alliance with EHL, with Hong Kong Polytechnic University, Cornell, and a couple of other reference institutions in the world. So I said a few words already on the international presence. So 277 partners university in all the world, in the 2 hemispheres and all the continents. 3 locations abroad, so either our own campus in Dakar, for instance, or shared campus such as our campus in Shanghai, and also 4 campuses more historical in France, so Toulon, Marseille, Bordeaux, and Paris, and our wine programs are based in Paris and Bordeaux. So now time to focus on the Kedge Wine School, I guess. I will introduce myself first, which I should have done when I started. Sorry about that. So I'm Jérémy Kuckerman. I'm the director of the Kedge Wine School. Joined Kedge in 2018. Sorry, I was there for your graduation, Juliette, right after joining Kedge. I'm a wine professional for 15 years. I first started as a wine merchant. And then started consulting, started writing. I wrote a book recently, which I won several awards. I was very pleased to and honored. Also a journalist, but obviously my main mission nowadays is to be the director of Kedge Wine School, and since almost 3 years. And last but not least, I passed the different levels of the WSET, and I'm a Master of Wine since 2017. And I've got the pleasure to be with Juliette, and I'll let you introduce yourself, I guess.
Hello, everyone. So I graduated from Kedge Business School. I did the one in Marseille. I did a dual degree half in Marseille and half in Nottingham. So that was my first connection to the school. And then I did the MSc, the Wine Master in Catch Bordeaux. So back in 2018. I am now living in London. I've worked in wine and in champagne, and I'm currently working on the dark side of the force in the spirits. I'm mainly working on trade, so with restaurants and bars, etc. And I'm here to answer any potential question you have about the student perspective of the program, whether it's for the school itself, the life outside of the school, but within the program. If you have any question for me or Jeremy, please shoot in the chat box and we will both answer as much as we can.
Also, Juliette, please feel free to interrupt me and to say anything, and then at different points of my presentation, I might ask you questions.
Sure.
And make you react on what we believe are our strengths or things like that, or the highlights of the program. But it's always good to have some people testifying, or at least giving them their impressions. So
gladly. I'm all yours.
So here's the agenda. We can speak about our positioning, our strengths, or what we believe are our strengths, the pedagogical content of our programs. And then we're going to do a focus on two specific programs, our two Master of Science, the Wine and Hospitality Management program that we developed jointly with EHL. And then we welcomed our first cohort this year. And a short focus on selection process, and then same exercise on the Master of Science Wine and Spirits Management with Juliette adding some comments, and same, we're going to speak a little bit about the selection process.
Jeremy, how do you want to do, because we already have one question in the chat box. Should I interrupt you each time there's a question?
Yeah, go on.
So someone is asking, can we apply for masters directly after the 3 years degree course?
So the answer is definitely yes for the Master of Science Wine and Spirits, because we have a preparatory year, so you can apply, and then in that case you will do a 2 years program. Or if you have really a solid experience or a top profile, then we will consider accepting you in what we call the second year, or the M2. But we can only accept 30% of a cohort which have only a 3 years bachelor or equivalent. So the answer is yes, but provided you really convince us during the recruitment. And if you have 3 years professional experience, then in that case it's not a problem, and we will consider your application even more seriously for the M2 directly. So a few words on our positioning. I believe we became an international reference in wine and spirits, but it's not only what I believe, because the different classifications say the same. We're the only school with 7 stars in the Aide Universal classification regarding wine and spirits management programs. So we develop programs in wine and spirits management, but also wine and hospitality management since this year, and sommellerie. We have a sommellerie school called World Somm. We have the chance to welcome top lecturers. We try to provide a global vision of the industry. We have developed an international network, so obviously in Bordeaux and all the wine regions, but also lots of contacts and a huge network, a wide network in other countries, thanks to my experience as a Master of Wine, and to the experience, the trips, and the connections of my team. And we try to be very exhaustive and transversal or cross-disciplinary in terms of content, which we will develop later on. Our strengths, we have developed a fine vision of the market. It's management programs. Obviously, we speak a lot about distribution, about purchasing, about marketplace, about the different markets, because the global wine market is encompassing lots of different markets with their specificities. The pedagogy, which is interdisciplinary, both technical. Well, you have the chance to pass the WSET level 3 in our programs. And you have other courses on wine terroir, on the product and production, but also obviously business oriented. So it's both theoretical and very practical. Which is also true because we have lecturers that are very academic in their background, our professors or researchers, but we also have lots of professionals from the wine industry or the hospitality industry, sommelier, journalists, masters of wine, figures of the industry, etc. Wide networks, I think I mentioned that already, worldwide. We act as partners of the industry, so we are also sometimes proposing some intelligence or doing some studies for Chateau or for even La Cité du Vin in Bordeaux or others. Some of our partners are some of the best, the Institut des Sciences de la Vigne et du Vin, the École Hôtelière de Lausanne, the WSET, Riedel for the glassware, etc. We propose some I would say amazing trips and visits in prestigious wine estates, but all types of estates, all types of business models, and all the time we try to have a guideline when we go for a visit and to have the key contact in front of us so that the students can interact and ask lots of questions and learn from them. Juliette, I was thinking maybe I would ask you if you had to say from your experience, obviously, what's the strengths of the Kedge Wine School and of Kedge Business School? What would you say?
Well, definitely the network side for two reasons. First, because obviously of all the people we got to meet, teachers, people within the school, places we visited, but mainly I would say the network you do within the class, because in the end, those people are the one you're gonna work with probably later in the industry. And honestly, if I count how many people I'm still in touch with and thanks to whom I've been able to travel and visit wineries and learn, and because some of them are from a family who has a vineyard, some of them know more about a certain topic and are happy to share. Yesterday, I was talking with two of them and we were doing a Zoom tasting. So honestly, I would say definitely one of the strengths is the people you're gonna meet and you're gonna be in the class with. And obviously then teacher, class, chateau visit, etc. But I would say I'm really grateful for all the people I met that are now not only network and connection, but friends.
Okay, thanks, Juliette. So our different programs cover, well, we have a sommelier school, as I said, so sommellerie, but also new challenges and trends of the industry, such as climate change and environmental transition, new wine growing methods, which evolves, and well, with regards to the climate change, but not only. Market fragmentation, because the wine market is extremely complicated due to its fragmentation. It's one of the most fragmented in the world, but also living a globalization process and a premiumization trend currently. And obviously we speak about hospitality, which is extremely important with the boom of wine tourism, for instance, and obviously restaurants and hotels are key players for the wine industry as well and the spirits industry. So it's extremely important to understand what they expect from the wine industry. And we cover the whole distribution, production and distribution chain to try to provide a global vision to our students. So as I said, we developed several programs. Today we focus on two. We have others. We have the French equivalent of the MSc Wine and Spirits, which is called the Master Spécialisé. It's a part-time program, and you work in the company, and you have 1 week of course every month. And then you have two other undergraduate programs, CAF, which is an early pass to the wine and spirits distribution positions. It's a 1-year program, and you can tackle it when you have only 2 years post-bac or 2 years postgraduate program. And then World Somm, which is a certification for sommelier practice in French, part-time program taught in Paris as well, and then with a very prestigious program committee composed of 3 best sommeliers of the world. So I'm going to first ask, sorry, Juliette, but I'm going to first start with the program joint with EHL, the MSc Wine and Hospitality Management.
No worries, I'm actually curious about it.
So very proud to speak about that program. We, as I said before, we welcomed our first cohort this year, so 20 lucky students. And we're delighted to do it with École Hôtelière de Lausanne. Well, it all started because we thought, okay, there's no program in wine and hospitality. And we do believe, and then actually the industry answered and said, well, that's great, and thanks for doing it. So I know now that we're not the only one to believe that it was really, really necessary to develop such types of programs because, well, the two fields are complementary. Wine and hospitality must work hand in hand more and more, especially when we see what's happening now with the COVID crisis. Once things get back to normal, we will need to work hand in hand with restaurants and hotels. So yeah, it was, I believe it was really a need to develop such a program. And for that aim, we went to see what we thought and what we still think is the best partner, the École Hôtelière de Lausanne, #1 in the world in hospitality. And then combining an academic rigor with industry realities, which is a vision that we share, and Kedge Wine School, which I think I've already described. So giving a global vision of the wine industry and a comprehensive content was lots of connections with the international wine industry. So two complementary fields of expertise, as I mentioned. The idea is really to focus on the synergies and the successful common strategies of both industries to create an added value to meet industry demands, obviously. And well, we all always think about employability, and there's more and more jobs, positions that are in line with what we develop in this program. We discover current issues and answer challenges in wine and hospitality, and it's a unique partnership with two referents in their fields, and it's also unique, and we will see why, in its formats, and very different to what we used to develop at Kedge, at least. We have very prestigious sponsors. We have an endorsement by some top figures of the hospitality and wine industry. Philippe Forbrac, best sommelier of the world in 1992, and also president of the Union de la Sommellerie Française, and treasury of the international, the Association of Sommellerie Internationale. So very important figure in the sommelier industry. And Jean-François Piège, which I believe I don't have to describe, or because it's a highly celebrated French chef. He used to have 3 Michelin stars when he was in the Ducasse Galaxy, and now 2 Michelin stars in his Jean-François Piège Grand Restaurant. So high claimed and excellent French chef. Double network, obviously, this is one of the main advantages of this. You mentioned the network and the importance of developing your network when you do a program. In that specific case, you graduate from both schools, and you benefit from their partners network in all the world for your internship, but also upon graduation and for your future career. It's also unique in its format and in the pedagogy approach. It's a blended format, so on-site and distance learning, but still with lots of interaction. And it's not, I always say, it's not an improvised distance learning. It's mostly the part developed by EHL is 70% of it is distance learning, and it's a platform that has been developed long before the COVID crisis, with lots of interactive content, lots of materials. So yeah, so it's really a great platform. And we combine strategic and applied knowledge. It's taught on 3 sites, so mostly based in Paris, but there's also 3 weeks in Switzerland, including 2 weeks of face-to-face courses in Lausanne. There's 2 weeks in Bordeaux as well for the sommelier course. And there's 2 study trips, one in France covering different French regions, and one in Switzerland, and potentially in Italy when the COVID crisis is not too problematic for traveling. And of course, lots of visits in vineyards next to Paris, or in Bordeaux when we're in Bordeaux, but also in hotels or restaurants, meeting sommelier, meeting different key players in the hotellerie and restaurant industry. The content is covering lots of different things. Well, I mentioned the WSET level 3, which is becoming an important line in the resume of people who want to apply for positions in the wine industry. It's covering economy and business, new trends, market and distribution, management. We have a new model on CSR, climate change and sustainability, which I believe is a more and more important issue. And I'm teaching this part of this course. We speak about strategic management, about investment, value generation, wine culture. There's an art and wine model. And I mentioned the trips as well. So very ambitious content, comprehensive, and we believe adapted to the current issues. The selection process. So as I mentioned, well, the best way to apply is to have what we call in France a Bac plus 4, or an international bachelor in 4 years, but we have a derogatory rate for Bac plus 3 or bachelor in 3 years profile. So we can accept up to 30 persons. So in that case, you need to have a top profile. There's some English scores requirements as well. And then there's an application form to fulfill. You have the link, and you have first at home to attend to a multiple choice question tests on your knowledge, your culture about wine and hospitality, with 30 questions in 15 minutes. It's only waiting for 10% of the score, of the overall score that we will look at to decide whether we accept you. Then there's an interview waiting for the 90 remaining persons, lasting between 30 and 45 minutes, with a topic to prepare, obviously a topic linked to wine and hospitality, and to present at the beginning of the interview for 5 minutes. And then there's lots of questions about personality, expectations, the professional goal, the background, etc. Who are we recruiting? Well, first of all, we want someone who's ambitious, who has a clear professional project, or at least perspective, and wants to become someone in the wine and hospitality industry. So the potential is extremely important for us, which implies having a dynamic, enthusiast, and very professional personality. And if possible, important, or at least a professional experience in the wine and hospitality industry. A minimum of 6 months is required to apply in the program. And I guess that's it for that one. Then we're going to jump to the MSc Wine and Spirits, and I see, Juliette, you'll have much more things to say.
Yeah, that's the one I can talk about.
Exactly. So our ambition for that program, and since the very beginning, is to train the future wine and spirits managers, and not only the managers. I'd like to say, and for both programs, we really want to shape the future leaders. So we need to be as close as possible to the global market issues, to understand the expectations of the market, and to serve the industry main players, which means that we involve our students in some projects for some players of the industry. We teach about management and products. I believe that, of course, it's a management program and we are speaking mostly about business, but to speak about business and to make business, you need to understand product and production. So yeah, basically understanding the everyday work of someone working as a sommelier or as a restaurant manager, or as in the specific case as a wine grower or a winemaker, is extremely important. Same for people working in distilleries. And I'm sure you will agree, Juliette. The product and production parts of the programs are always highlights of the program. I think both the WSET or the wine courses and the tastings and things like that are really appreciated by
I mean, when your homework consists into tasting wine, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. So yeah, a very concrete applied pedagogy. We believe in learning by doing. So yeah, it can be going to different chateaux and doing the blending, for instance, or we had types of things happening. Obviously, attending the study trips, but yeah, we think skills are even more important than knowledge. Obviously, you need to have the knowledge to develop skills, but at that stage of your studies, it's most important to acquire some skills. A cross-disciplinary approach. We cover lots of things. When you speak about wine, you speak about culture, you speak about geography, about pedology, you speak about geology, or you speak about lots of different things. And for that aim, you need to have lots of different backgrounds, lots of different lecturers. And that's, I believe, the richness of our programs. Some lectures that you remember particularly, or some, I don't know, courses or parts of the program?
So in the more school thing, I remember the law class, all the rules and all the laws about wine and alcohol in general. And as it's an international program, the fact that it's different in every country, and I can see it living in London, the loi E20 that applies in France and restricts a lot of advertisements for alcohol compared to here in London is outrageous. And it's that made me understand that I knew nothing about this kind of thing, and it was really interesting. Then I will obviously, on the more practical side, remember the trip to Portugal. That was intense. It was really, like, it was equally fun and instructive. So really good fun. And I didn't know how little I knew about wine until I started learning about it. So that's it. Very good.
Yeah, the more you learn about wine, the more you know what you don't know, and the more you see that you still have lots of things to learn. But that's what is extraordinary, and it's the same for spirits. So yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, so the Douro Valley, your trip, right?
Yeah, Porto and Douro Valley.
Yeah, amazing region. And then,
very good.
Yeah, so it's a full-time. So compared to the MSc Wine and Hospitality, well, first of all, it's covering the spirits industry instead of the hospitality industry. It's a full-time program, so it's not a blended format. It's 100% in English as the Wine Hospitality Master of Science. It's lasting 15 months, around 560 hours of teaching, plus a 6 months professional experience. And then you have a thesis or dissertation, and you need to validate 90 European credits as for any Master of Science, and to validate all courses plus the professional experience, and to write a thesis, and then to get at least 50% of the marks for the thesis. What was your thesis on?
I did an analysis in the US of the perception from people from the industry between the link between quality and price on the wine bottle. Okay. Usually it's a lot of consumer focused studies, so I try to orientate mine towards the seller side.
Okay. I think we forgot to mention that Juliette was the best student in her cohort, so feel free to ask her lots of questions.
Yeah, shoot, anything, I'm happy to answer.
So the program content in brief, well, management applied to wine and spirits specificities and combined with wine and spirits knowledge. So you have all the details in that slide. Marketing, obviously, strategic and applied, export strategy, negotiation and distribution, but also finance, strategic management, entrepreneurship, economics, laws that you mentioned, which are indeed extremely important. Supply chain, because logistics, transports are a big part of the issues of the wine industry, especially related to sustainability and CSR, and how to lower the carbon footprint of wine. Team building, some projects for the industry, such as the Wine to Win project, the WACT, plus some additional wine knowledge, We now have a full model, which was not the case at your time, Juliette, but now we propose a full module on spirits knowledge, so that the claim, the promise saying wine and spirits is we meet the promise, and then we have the visits and study trips, and then the dissertation. Selection is pretty close to what I just said about the Master of Science Wine and Hospitality. We ask for Bac plus 4 or 4 years bachelor equivalent, except if you want to apply for the preparatory year, which in which you already have some wine models, but not only. Then there's also English requirements, English scores, and then it's exactly the same. You have a multi-question test at home, and then you have an interview with a topic to prepare and to present, and some questions, and then we will ask you about your personality, and we really want to see that you have a great potential, that you're dynamic, that you are passionate, which is extremely important. Usually we have the chance to have mostly passionate people when they apply for wine-related programs or spirit-related programs, but it's not always the case, but it's most of the time it's the case, which might not be the case when you apply for a very academic or a broader topic. So we're pretty lucky about that. And I guess that's it on my end. Maybe I was thinking maybe Juliette, if you have anything else to add on the highlights of your program, on what you liked about Kedge also, broadly speaking, and the life at Kedge, I don't know, the strengths of the school.
So I wanted to do this program because because it was really well ranked, first of all. I didn't do it straight after my bachelor, so I did a dual degree, so Bac plus 4. Then I went and worked a bit in London, and then I decided to focus a lot on wine and spirits, and I realized that I couldn't get the jobs that I was aiming for without more qualification, so I decided to go for a master. Honestly, the one in Kedge was quite obvious for me because, well, Bordeaux, ranking, and I had been to Kedge before, it was something easy to choose. And obviously, being in Kedge in Bordeaux, it's pretty central. I discovered the biking to go to school habit, and being so close to La Cité du Vin, being so close to all the vineyards, being in a city where there's so many bar à vin. And honestly, you realize that everyone is really keen on sharing and welcoming you as a wine student. So for example, we would go to class during the day, and then we would all meet in a wine bar that one of us would have called and asked for a tasting. So I really had a good year, really. WSET 3 was difficult, but it was so much fun doing all the tasting and all the learnings. And yes, as I said, very eclectic class. What I wanted was international and full-time, so that's why I didn't even look at the French version of the program, because I was already oriented in international business. So, and I love having friends from all over, really. And honestly, everyone had a very varied background. We even had like older people in our class that we still are in touch with, and we used to hang out with them. It's honestly like good experience. There's another question: total fees, and is there any accommodation in the campus?
So the total fees for the Master of Science Wine and Hospitality are 26,900 euro. For the wine and spirits is 19,900 euro. There's no accommodation on campus, but we are partnering with some.
There's one right next to it, isn't it?
Yes, there's one just a block from it. So yeah, very, very close. And we, of course, we have a department helping you finding accommodation or things like that.
But anyway, you want to be more closer to the center because you're gonna go out and it's easier to go back home.
Also, I forgot to mention, which I think is very important, and then maybe Juliette, you want to speak about it. There's someone in the team of the Kedge Wine School, Patrice Malka, not to name him, who's in charge of the employability, corporate relationship, etc., and who's helping you not only to find your internship, but after the program, we post lots of job offers and things like that. He knows lots of people in Bordeaux and in other vineyards, and obviously I know lots of people in the World Vineyard as well. So yeah, we try to share our network even after graduation.
100%. And this line on your resume, to me, changed the game so much in job search. I got a job right after. Basically, I did my internship, got hired right after that, and then I got another job. It's more people coming to you than the other way around, and it's such a luxury. It's honestly, it helped me a lot. WSET free and business school master in wine and spirit, that helps you evolve in the industry you want way more easily.
Where did you do your internship, Juliette?
I did it in London for a tiny high-end producer. So I was basically dealing with a Michelin star restaurant and high-end restaurant in London for a very small producer that imported directly. So I started with this. It was fun, but then I wanted to move towards a bigger structure. So I moved to Champagne with Pommery, and then I went even bigger, and I'm in Bacardi now. So yeah. No one has questions about anything?
Any question?
No, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. So well, let's say we've been very clear.
Well, yeah.
Well, thanks all for attending this session. It was really a pleasure to speak about our masters and the Kedge Wine School. And thanks, Juliette. Thanks again for.
Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or anything if you have any other questions, and I'm happy to answer anything. Everyone is saying thank you and for the time and for the presentation. Can you see the chat box now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool.
Answering.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good
you all.
evening.
Have a lovely evening.